How are fossils dated is a very debatable question, because when geology first started, you find words like Carboniferous, you find words like Devonian, and words like Jurassic being invented, but these have nothing to do with time or evolution. So if you take Devonian, you're in Devon, all right? And, where they sip their tea and ate their scones and jam and cream, and discuss those wretched fishes in the rocks. So Devonian rocks became a type area for finding lots of fossil fishes. If you look at the Jurassic, you have a famous geographer by the name of Alexander von Humboldt, German obviously by the name, sailed all over the planet, has a question. Those rocks there look like these rocks there on the other side of the world. What do I call them? So he knew those fossils actually belong to an area in southern Germany called the Jura. Jura is an ancient Germanic word, simply means wooded, right? The southern Alps, or halfway down you'll find these Alps, the Jura, and the Romans wrote that word down and recorded it, and now it's passed into geology as a time and evolutionary sequence. It's got nothing to do with that. Alexander von Humboldt came up with the concept, we need a word that describes like the Jura. We've ended up with Jurassic, meaning that. Not 100 million years, not evolution, not anything like that, just like the rocks in the Jura. So number one, the first geologists didn't bother with millions of years. Even our friend William Smith, who wrote the book on digging canals and drew up the first geologic map of this country, right? It was all pragmatic. You can tell a rock by the fossils that are in it, which is true. And you needed to know that as an engineer, because if the water runs out of this rock, you don't want to build a canal through there. Or if you've got a steam train, it's cheaper to go through the mountain, but the mountain must hold up the tunnel. So you need to understand the rocks. And the rule became very simple. You can tell a rock by the fossils that are in it. Enter, 50 years later, Charles Lyell. Now, Charles Lyell sets out to destroy Christianity, and he has a brilliant front. He's a good churchman. And you and I know that in this country, the hierarchy, the upper classes were church people. Didn't believe anything, but they funded the church. And so the church couldn't rebuke them. It was a terrible bond to be in. So what you find is Charles Lyell, a qualified lawyer, set out to, quote unquote, remove Moses from science. So now you've got science there and religion there, and what Moses said is now totally removed. No creation, no flood, no Babel, no law of God. No law of God? You will not lie. Modern scientists are willing to actually fudge around the edges quite a bit, right? In fact, increasingly, we've noticed that the number of papers that are coming out that are actually not about the facts, but they're fudging the facts. The Marijuana Committee has discovered marijuana won't hurt you, right? In reality, you discover 8 out of 10 on that committee are already on marijuana, right? So they're not actually dealing with real objective evidence anymore. So what you find is Charles Lyell comes out with a rule that says the present is the key to the past. Can I see rocks forming on a massive scale today? Because the Jurassic rocks goes across half the planet. No, I can see little bits of rocks forming. So to form the Jurassic must have taken vast millions of years. And you can follow his logic. It's just that his premise is totally wrong, because he's left God's real view of history out. And so he's gotten rid of Moses, gets rid of the flood, gets rid of creation, gets rid of the 6 days, and his chief disciple was Charles Darwin.